Chapter 17. Obsidian took a deep breath, and the scales around his chest suddenly became luminous from the fire that was combusting his lungs. He let out a long stream of fire, directed to a large pile of driftwood bordered by stones and sand.
We will never tire of watching that happen.
Soen remarked.
Fire is one of the most interesting things. And inside us, we wish you could hear the choir of cheers as we watch how you do it.
It's something I take for granted.
Obsidian replied.
Doesn't every species have some unique quality that makes it special? What's yours?
Soen grinned.
We're not sure it qualifies as unique, certainly not when compared to your gifts. But we can be completely still, all of us together. Not a single thought, word, or sound is made. We can find alignment across space-time within my lineage.
Not sure I followed that,
Obsidian admitted.
but it sounds interesting. When you say lineage, what do you mean? Your ancestors?
Soen shook his head.
We mean ourselves, spread across all of space-time. You see, there's really only one executive self inside me, but there are an infinite number of lifetimes that executive self is living in any single moment. And in each of those moments, we are operating in parallel lives, completely unaware that we are.
We are what?
Obsidian asked.
That we are a self-contained lineage of individuality, of sovereignness. Our executive self can contact all of its far-flung identities and, well, it's kind of like orchestrating a choir. It aligns us to one belief.
And what is that belief?
It's that we are united despite the separate identities and lifetimes we live. And every single creature we encounter is also an executive self and separate selves, operating in a network of unity and equality. And this structure repeats at scale, infinitely.
Obsidian rolled his eyes a bit as if he was sorting out a difficult math problem.
Sounds like a talent that doesn't display itself. It's more internal, right?
That's a fair observation,
Swan agreed.
but it does show itself in subtle ways.
Like?
It becomes our central focus, not as though we concentrate from one moment to the next on our fundamental, shared belief, but rather, we touch into this feeling that our executive self, in every lifetime, is becoming increasingly aware of itself as more than one lifetime.
And how does this manifest in subtle ways?
Obsidian remarked. His curiosity piqued.
Well, that is an individual expression into the reality of the individual expressing it. It is contained in that space-time. However, when one becomes aware that they are infinite, then space-time releases itself, and we are not contained. Our energy is of the frequency of allness and interconnectedness. We see others as us, and this invariably affects how we interact with our reality.
Walking up the beach was one who nodded as he approached.
Any signs of the sea dragons?
He pointed to the sea right in front of them.
They'd be out there.
Both Soen and Obsidian shook their heads.
No sign of them.
And the others, where are they?
If by others you mean Joe, he went exploring. Haven't seen Oriole since she left with you.
One who replied.
Maybe Oriole found Joe, and they went exploring together. The last thing she told me was that she was going to find a fish for me. In any case, it's getting dark, so they should be returning to our camp.
We told Joe that he could come and grab a fire stick to start his own fire.
Soen said, turning to one who sat next to him by the fire.
Why do you think they excluded Ariel and Joe from these discussions?
One who nodded knowingly.
They wanted to keep it a smaller discussion, that's all. Plus, they haven't met you. And of course, Obsidian, well, for all we know, he could be their revered god.
Obsidian licked his lips.
I'd rather be their demon. There's one reason and only one reason that they specifically asked for me to be present. They want to assess me.
There was a distant sonar sound, almost inaudible, and then, as if perfectly orchestrated, Alter began to appear in a glowing outline that gradually became herself, the servitor. As she walked up, she stared at the sea and quietly and discreetly voiced her recognition to the sea dragons, Adam and Eve. They were floating perhaps 20 meters from the shoreline.
Please,
One who said, looking at Alter.
convey our recognition of their arrival, and with that, we can get started.
His tone was serious, down to business, without any friendly embroidery whatsoever.
Being our guests, we will let Adam and Eve begin.
He looked out to the darkening sea and then stole a quick glance at Alter, who had taken up residence around the fire but was still standing, her back to the sea dragons. Alter paused while she was communicating with the sea dragons.
They are inclined to discuss what can be done to resist escalation.
Escalation?
Obsidian echoed with surprise.
I could incinerate both of you right now, without a second thought. That kind of escalation? Or the kind that is more gentle and slow-moving, murdering one of you at a time?
Alter held up her hand. Her eyes moved rapidly beneath thick, brown eyelids.
We know there is bad blood between our species, but that is precisely why we, the sea dragons, wanted you to attend. We want to see if the animus between us can be healed, or it is just the way it will always be. No one wants to be the one that says, let's heal the wounds before we add more. It's an unpopular tactic. However, because there is just one of you, we reasoned you would not feel any peer pressure. You could find your own voice and speak from that position. The violent response we just heard suggests you won't be able to find your own voice unless we speak ours first.
There was a pause, and then Alter put her hand down, resuming her normal posture, opened her eyes, and sat down at the fire.
Sometimes they will speak through me instead of me translating. I think they find it much easier. They also know I cannot change their words.
She bobbed her head for emphasis. Her head suddenly stilled, and her eyes closed once again.
We believe that we can live in harmony with the air dragon obsidian and the werewolves. With any species, really, even humans. Our goal is very simple when you peel all of the layers. We want to be useful to our Creator. We want our Creator to use us, not because we are available, but because we are valuable perceivers of our reality. We see our reality, unlike anyone else. We live as individuals, but also in harmony with our created reality. To do one without the other is a waste of energy, and we will not be found useful to our Creator. It is truly that simple. That belief powers our actions, and that is all you really need to know about us.
One, who sighed loudly.
And everything you just said feels inconsistent with your actions. You are hypocrites. And no one can trust a hypocrite.
Yes, well, we admit our actions of late have looked like an escalation, but we were very careful to be balanced in our approach. Our belief does not preclude a balanced response to savagery. We cannot live with ourselves if we don't respond in kind, especially in a world without any justice system. We have to be able to live with ourselves before we can live with anyone else, wouldn't you agree?
The words rolled from Alter's lips with ease. Her eyes remained closed as she waited for a response. Soen leaned in to look more closely at Alter.
Do you hear our words through Alter? Or does she need to be awake to translate?
We can hear you without Alter's conscious translation.
Soen leaned back.
Who is your creator?
We do not know.
Then, how can you be useful to something you do not know?
It is an abstract thought, to be sure,
The sea dragon said through Alter.
but we consider it an obvious certainty that whoever created us did so for the purpose that each of us would discover a way to be useful to it in some way. We believe this usefulness is contained in the special talents of the one individual. and in some cases, groups of individuals who harmonize their talents.
What if their talent is murder or retribution?
One who asked, his tone innocent. There was a long pause as if the sea dragons were debating how to answer the question. Alter raised her hand, but her eyes remained in a trance.
We are not immune to aberrations in our behavior. As we said before, in a world of savagery, sometimes you resort to retribution. The key element is a proportional response, so there is no escalation. We provided the proportional response. As painful as it was for us, it is now painful for you. We share this pain. We are here to make sure that our sharing is the end of violence, not the beginning of more violence. What can we do to ensure this?
Murder in our world leads to more murder. It is the way of our species.
One who said,
We are not bound to laws. We live them because they protect us. We do not wish war to be our future. Apparently, no more than you. However, we do not trust you, so whatever peace agreement we settle on, it will be monitored very carefully for any deviations, and if there are any, we will not murder one of you. We will cleanse our land of you, the same way one washes their dirty hands.
We propose 3 conditions.
Alter spoke, her eyes closed.
First, each party agrees to territorial assignments. In our case, we have asked for a tiny sliver of the land that you call yours. We could do the same with the sea and forbid you to enter it, to take fish from it, to swim in it, to wash your dirty hands. Let us share in the bounty of this planet. We can find you resources from the sea that will benefit you, things like medicines and food sources that you have not even dreamed of because you do not know what lies beneath the deep waters.
And how do we assess and assign those territorial assignments?
Soen asked.
Alter will work directly with you and define those boundaries. We will then mark our territory, so it is obvious to you when you trespass.
And what about you trespassing into our territories?
One who asked, his tone darkening.
All we ask is to be able to come and go within our territories in a peaceful, responsible way. We will enlarge our territory so that we can stay within its boundaries at all times, and this will provide us a buffer zone between you and us.
Okay.
Soen nodded.
And what is your second proposition?
That we establish diplomats who meet regularly to review our peace agreement and one another's fidelity to its principles and conditions. In the event there is a deficit or aberration in our fidelity, then these diplomats serve in the role of de-escalating the tension and solving the problem.
And the third?
The third one is the most important. If there is a common enemy that surfaces sometime in our future, we will join forces against that common enemy.
Why is that the most important of the 3 propositions?
Obsidian asked, with Soen and One who nodding in agreement.
The first 2 are clear and obvious. We map out territories and mark them on maps. We define diplomats, and they meet to review progress or problems. The third one is not so clear and obvious because we would have to agree on having a shared problem, which is to say, a common enemy that, for now, remains in the abstract.
Obsidian snorted a disapproval of some kind.
And why do we care? It seems irrelevant, and yet you claim it is the most important. Let's first figure out how to keep peace among ourselves before we decide to join forces against an undefined enemy.
Alter paused, her eyes moving beneath her eyelids, darting about as if it were a kite in the wind. When she next spoke, her tone changed to reflect a more feminine energy.
It is most important because it is inevitable. Today, it seems so abstract as to be perceived as unimportant. Yet when it occurs, it will come in the night ever so quickly, and if we are caught unprepared, our defense of that common enemy is endangered, possibly to the extent of our mutual demise. To your point, Air Dragon, it could be tomorrow, it could be in 1,000 years, but whenever it happens, it will be the most important thing, and if our agreement is based on mutual cooperation of defense, then our diplomats can begin the process of developing our early detection systems in land, air, and sea. Our agreement should be structured so we not only become tolerators of one another, but also cooperators.
When they finished, Alter opened her eyes.
Do you agree?
Would it be possible for you to take a short walk so we can talk among ourselves? Privately.
One who asked Alter. Alter nodded as she stood to her feet. The sonar sounds reverberated over the calm sea. Alter strode to the water's edge out of listening range. Obsidian brought his head low, only a few centimeters above the ground.
They speak well, but their actions are cunning and lethal. That makes them untrustworthy.
Do we have a choice?
Solon interjected.
They have made a reasonable proposition. If we set up diplomatic channels, we will find trust, if it is to be found at all. If we see them as cunning and lethal in the future, whether that is a few days or a few months, we can renegotiate our peace agreement, or
His voice shrunk, his shoulders shrugged.
go to war.
One who held a stick and started drawing something in the sand.
Here's where they are right now. If we carve out this land and say it is theirs, the deer will almost certainly congregate there for safety. We'll need hunting rights. This is the biggest issue. The deer are smart. They will go to the sea dragon's territory, adopting it as their sanctuary, and we will starve or have to leave our lands. Either way, untenable options.
Solon sighed.
Perhaps the sea dragons can provide food. Or perhaps we can put a barrier around their territory to keep the deer out.
Solon looked between One Who and Obsidian with his eyebrows tilted up like a seesaw.
Otherwise, the agreement sounds reasonable and is certainly better than war.
But there are two of them.
Obsidian whispered.
I can eliminate the entire problem with a simple breath of my wind and fire. Why go to all this trouble?
Solon looked at One Who to encourage him to speak first.
I have seen the effects of their ability to kill at a long distance, through forest cover no less, and with great accuracy. There may be only two of them, but they would kill many of us before we killed them. Peace is a better outcome. It's worth the effort.
One Who repeatedly glanced at Obsidian as he spoke.
As much as I would personally like to see you incinerate them, all my life, I have been trained to act in the best interest of my tribe and not myself. We will agree to the peace agreement. The only issue is that we require hunting privileges on their territory, that's all. It's not an option for them to feed us from the sea. We need to hunt. We need to secure our own food. It's too vital for our culture to give up. That is our one non-negotiable.
Solon looked up at Obsidian, his hand pointing at One Who.
He decides. It's his land, his world, not ours.
Obsidian slowly nodded, his eyes, the air of disappointment.